ISVM members, students interact with the experts in the field of veterinary medicine. So today, I welcome the Honorable Vice Chancellor of MAPSU, Dr. A.M. Paturkar, to deliver this lecture on zoonosis, the role of veterinarian in prevention and control. Sir, on behalf of ISVM, I thank the Honorable Vice Chancellor for accepting our invitation to deliver the valuable lecture on zoonosis. Thank you, sir. I welcome all the participants, also the pharmaceutical representatives to the program. Thank you, Ananda.
Yes. Sir, just I would like to introduce about our speaker. Good evening, everyone. Yes, good evening, everyone. We are very much thankful to Dr. Paturkar sir for accepting our invitation and given his time to speak on the forum of Indian Society for Veterinary Medicine. I would like to introduce to Paturkar sir. Dr. A.M. Paturkar sir is currently holding position of Honorable Vice Chancellor, Maharashtra Animal and Fishery Sciences University, Nagpur. Sir is the one of the eminent scientists in field of veterinary public health. Sir has guided 33 MUSC students and 5 PhD students and till date completed more than 30 research projects at national and international funding. Important among them are ICAR, ICMR, EPIDA, DST and BARC. Sir has also established state-of-art NABL accredited laboratory, Western Region Referral Laboratory for Meat and Meat Product at Mumbai Veterinary College. Sir has been nominated as expert member on various scientific committees at national and international level. I do request Paturkar sir to deliver a webinar for today's Zoonosis Day. I request Paturkar sir, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Can I share the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. उसने अलाउ किया है? हाँ जी। अपना वाला शेयर करो। Dr. Kalde, are you able to see all these things?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, first of all, thank you very much, Dr. Naurial, Dr. Ram Prabhu, and his team, Dr. Galdar, Dr. Nilesh Sindhu, and Sanjeev Kumar, for inviting me on this August day of World Zoonosis Day. On this day, we have a webinar in the morning, international webinar on the occasion of World Zoonosis Day, wherein staff and students from Japan and India has participated, and we have got one CAST project was sponsored by World Bank of India, also World Bank for on food safety issues at Mumbai Veterinary College. I must congratulate to the executive members and live members of Indian Society for Veterinary Medicine for celebrating this World Zoonosis Day. Are you able to hear, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just, I will give you a brief introduction about what is zoonosis. All the veterinarians know this is just transmitted between animals and human beings, which comes from the Greek word zoonosis. The Chaube, who was an epidemiologist, said that zoonosis are amongst the most seriously underdiagnosed of all human diseases. As we are facing this COVID-19 crisis, everybody is aware about zoonosis now. And out of 1405 human pathogens, 817, that is 58%, are zoonotic. 14 out of 22, that is 4%, agents identified between 1973 to 1994, and 73% of the total emerging diseases are zoonotic. I will explain you which are the zoonotic diseases, which are emerging, which are re-emerging diseases. Zoonosis may be bacterial, viral, parasitic, or may involve unconventional agents. Zoonosis also depends on nature of etiological agent, that is bacterial, viral, parasitic, or reservoir host, cattle, buffalo, sheep, goat, pig, poultry, dog, that is pets, and the life cycle of the infecting organism. If anybody has got question, we can interact with each other after my presentation is over. So major impact of zoonosis, as during this COVID-19, in our lifespan of my age, 60 years, you can say, this is first time everybody is witnessing. What will be the impact of this such kind of diseases? And this is the first kind of diseases which we are facing. So pandemic. So major impact of zoonosis is illness which we are facing. Monetary loss, almost all the world is closed. Adverse effect on the moral of personal, unfavorable publicity. For example, if you see the poultry business during this COVID period, there are false rumors regarding the COVID-19 transmissible through the poultry. That's why the poultry business has gone down. Medical legal implications, loss of man hours in terms of absenteeism from work, loss in production of high quality protein. So people are throwing the poultry, people are destroying the eggs. There are rumors that it is transmitted to the animal origin foods. So like that, we are throwing out good quality proteins. As we have discussed, classification of zoonosis is viral. Major diseases are rabies, avian influenza, Japanese encephalitis, Ebola, hemorrhagic fever, etc. And bacterial, salmonellosis, campylobacteriosis, anthrax, brucellosis, E. coli, leptospirosis, plague, shigellosis, and so on. Fungal, there are infections like Microsporum trichophyton species, Cryptococcus and Candidiasis. Rickettsial like Q fever, scrub typhus, parasitic like cysticercosis, echinococcosis, toxoplasmosis, fascioliasis, and all. I'll start annotating. Yeah. इसको annotating will start. I think there is some problem with the presentation. Stop sharing बोल रहा हूँ. Stop sharing मत बोलो.
But sir, we are seeing that screen on our.
Yeah, but there it is not going ahead. Now. So what is emerging and re-emerging zoonosis? Yes. Okay. Zoonotic diseases caused either by apparently new agent or by previously known microorganisms appearing in the places or in the species in which the disease are previously unknown. Like this, the best example is COVID, which has come through wild animals, maybe bat, or maybe it has gone through penguin, and then it has come. emerging zoonosis in India like bird flu, bovine spongiform encephalopathy, hantavirus, Nipah virus, re-emerging zoonosis like tuberculosis. There are a number of diseases which are now either emerging or re-emerging in India. So what are the factors which affect this emerging zoonosis? Number one is adoption of pathogen. Means we adopt some infective agent either in human or in animal or in the environment. And then second is host susceptibility. Host susceptibility is which host it appears most. Population growth, spreading of this positive agent, and globalization. This globalization means whole world is connected and people are moving so fast from one country to other. Disease can be transmitted with person or with the inanimate object which carries along with the person. So regional environmental change, if you see, go through this ecosystem diagram. On the left side, there is the human ecosystem. On the right side is the natural ecosystem. And if you go to the population, technological capacity, and socio-cultural organization, it is the urbanization and habitat alteration on both sides. And then third is agricultural intensification, which includes food production. All these three together results in species ecological evolutionary dynamics, that is opportunistic habitat expansion or ecological release, which result in host pathogen dynamics, that is emergence processes of host parasite biology, which result in disease emergence. Then the public health significance of zoonotic agent. It can be utilized as a biological weapon if it is used in the war, emerging pathogen, potentially high morbidity and mortality rate, major public health impact, so many impacts we have seen previously, aerosolization potential, generally it remains in the air or in the aerosols, economic impact we have seen, and social disruption, that is fear or panic, which is generally caused in public because of this zoonotic agent. So how to prevent silent points? Increase as a veterinarian, how to prevent such zoonotic diseases which are transmitted from animal to human, or reverse zoonosis which are transmitted from human to even animals. Increase epidemiological surveillance in human and animal population. As you are aware that India is largest geographical country having the largest population of humans also. Along with this, we have largest population of animals. That is 17% of the world animal population reside in India. So the chances of this transmission of disease from either animal to human is very high. Then second is reservoir neutralization by removal or elimination of sick ones among the animal population. This is possible when there is a scientific method of rearing of animals as mostly seen in poultry in India. But if you see our animal rearing system, which is very unique, a farmer is having 3, 4 animals and they are residing just adjacent to the farmer's house. So we must have a system which will prevent these zoonotic diseases from animal to human. This is the best, which will be the best solution under such circumstances. Then third is possibly the zoonotic diseases are also transmitted through vectors. So elimination of such vector and control of such vector is essential. Then the environmental manipulation to control vector population. How to manipulate the environment to control this vector population so that we can break the cycle of reproduction of such vector. Then breaking the vehicle transmission. How? Fish, animal origin foods like fish, egg, meat, milk, poultry, and also the water and other food products. Control the pasteurization of milk and milk product. In India, one good thing is that we generally drink the milk which is boiled. But after boiling, chances of cross-contamination may be there, or while preparing the value-added product, chances of cross-contamination is there, which may result in human infection or human intoxication. Through cooking of meat and fish, then disinfection of water, cleaning of all food products before cooking and consumption. Second is safe and proper disposal of animal and human excreta. Recently, up to last year, you must have aware about defecation in India. We have constructed one scheme by Government of India for construction of all what you call as latrines even in the rural areas. Reducing the contact potential by isolation of sick animals, protection from vectors, and applying biosecurity measures. That is, avoid physical contact with the animals, do not handle infected material with abraded skin and bare hands. These are the silent features how to protect yourself from these zoonotic diseases. Increasing the host resistance by immunization of animal and human by vaccination for that disease. Implementation of strict animal quarantine measures in case of imported animals. Yes, that is required. We are importing mostly the pet animals which are traveled along with the people. Those needs to be quarantined. Even though there is a restriction in India for importing live animals, but for experimental purpose or sometimes some animal origin material is imported which requires quarantine and testing. Then the effective communication and education of public health workers, private practitioners, veterinarians and non-governmental organizations. That is to create awareness in the public about such zoonotic diseases. During last decade, nobody was aware about much about these zoonotic diseases, emerging zoonotic diseases, re-emerging zoonotic diseases. But because of this COVID, even the children at schools, even the public in the rural area understood what is zoonosis, how to take measures to prevent such zoonosis, and now awareness has increased because of this COVID-19 outbreak. The second most important part is the wildlife zoonosis. Wildlife has been an important source of infectious diseases transmissible to humans. Most of the diseases are present in the wild animals in different species of animals. So when human and animal conflict takes place, these wild animals, there are chances of transmission of these diseases from wild animals to humans. Zoonosis with wildlife reservoir constitute a major public health problem affecting almost all continents. Wildlife is normally defined as free roaming animals like mammals, birds, fish, reptiles, and amphibians. Wild animals seems to be involved in the epidemiology of host zoonosis and serve as a major reservoir for transmission of these zoonotic agents to the domestic animal as well as to the humans. Zoonosis with the wildlife reservoir are typically caused by various like bacteria, same as in other domestic animals, viruses, parasitic, fungi. However, Salmonella species can be spread from the wildlife to human in different ways. Reptiles associated with salmonellosis is a well-described phenomenon, especially among the children. So not only the domestic animal or the foods of animal origin which is consumed by human, even the reptiles in the nearby house or inside the house can spread salmonellosis in small children. Bacillus anthracis can be also be transmitted from wildlife to human by various modes. Rabies, yes. Rift Valley fever, equine encephalitis, and Japanese encephalitis through mosquitoes. Yersinia pestis can be spread by fleas. When there was a flood in Surat in 1993-94, there was an outbreak of plague, which was because of this, the flea, which is transmitted from the rat to the human being. Today you might have heard the news in China, because of heavy floods, there is an outbreak of this plague in human. And there are 2-3 cases which has been reported in China recently, 2-3 days back. Various factors which are responsible for this epidemiological of wildlife zoonosis, expansion of human population, then the encroachment of the forest, deforestation and other habitat changes, pollution, climatic change, movement of pathogen, movement of vectors and animal host. There are some forests wherein human population is residing within the buffer zone or the main zone of the forest, wherein this population which comes in contact with wild animals can get infected with from the wild animals. So how to prevent from wildlife zoonosis? Specific strategies are needed to be addressed the etiological and epidemiology of that disease, characteristics of pathogen involved, ecological factors, and the population at risk. To increase the capability of recognizing zoonosis with a wildlife reservoir, better national surveillance system for humans and animals are needed. For example, there are n number of birds which are flying from this country to another country, and they have some places in India, reservoirs in India, where every year such birds fly right from the east to west and north to south, and they have some time spent in our country, and there are every chances through their fecal matter they can contaminate water reservoirs, which ultimately result in diseases which can be transmitted from water to human. So that's why a better surveillance system, both for human and animals, need to be established in our country. Better international system for success of such system. There should be monitoring of such wild animals and birds for various diseases which has come in contact with humans directly or indirectly. More research is needed to better understand the epidemiology and pathogenesis of various zoonoses. As we have seen in COVID-19, during the first outbreak, we were not aware about how to go ahead with this COVID. Now, everybody understands what is the epidemiology, how to prevent, what it is going to cause in the human, how to prevent that, which are the medicines, which are the diagnostic, how to go with preparation or manufacturing of vaccine. So that understanding has come now after 3-4 months of outbreak. Improvement in diagnostic method, development of cost-effective vaccine and drugs. You are also, everybody is aware about this with the best example with the COVID. Previously, we used to use PCR. Now, there are antigen detection methods which are more faster, cost effective, can be used to say the person is suffering from COVID-19 or not. Training and education to enable the personnel, interdisciplinary and international collaboration for rapid identification and effective management of outbreaks of wildlife zoonosis. We require very few places there are wildlife sanctuaries and wildlife research and training centers in India. So we need interdisciplinary and international collaboration for rapid identification of wildlife zoonosis. So how to go ahead to combat such zoonotic outbreaks in our country? As per OI, who says that concept of veterinarian as a professional who are only concerned with animal diseases should be broadened to include. So it is not only human, the veterinarian's concept should be broadened to include areas that focus on public health. Public health means the diseases transmitted between animals to human. Second is the food chain, the food of animal origin, that is meat, fish, egg, their products and byproduct. Then the welfare of animals. As a veterinarian, we must also be responsible for welfare of animals for controlling potentially zoonotic diseases from animal to human. According to OI, veterinary services should be strengthened to promote early detection, that is detection methods for such kind of diseases. I can give you example, the hydatidosis, trichinosis, there was no ELISA method for detection of such diseases. Now, veterinary institutes in India have come up with detect zero prevalence of such diseases in human samples. Rapid response to such diseases, rapid response should be given by the veterinarian to such diseases. surveillance and reporting capabilities for animal diseases. Again, we have in every state disease surveillance laboratories of animal husbandry department. They are also reporting, but that network should be strengthened. Then they develop sanitary standards related to the animal health. So, how to control these animal health parameters? Those standards should be improved. Veterinary services, especially in developing countries like India, need to be improved their ability on disease surveillance. That is, there is no dividing line between animal and human medicine. Which medicine should be used in animals? Which medicine should be used in humans? Is there any diverse division between these two lines? Which diseases to be surveyed in animals population? Which diseases to be surveyed in human population? All such activities of veterinary scientists affect ultimately to human health, either directly or indirectly. So the role of veterinarian in control of zoonosis is first surveillance of that diseases in animal population. The second, control in animals. As everybody is aware that we have several control programs which are going at national level for vaccination of animals present in India, control of infectious medias, prevention of those diseases to be transmitted from animal to human, and strategy of selection. Surveillance means, number one, that we have discussed is surveillance, that is testing of such diseases. Second is slaughterhouse surveys, meat inspection, which can give you idea about the origin of animals which has come for slaughter and the disease prevalence in the slaughtered animals. So this data can give you clues about prevalence of any disease in that area where the animals are there. Isolation and typing of zoonotic agents, epidemiological studies of that disease, and the statistically data collection of zoonotic diseases. So this, if we carry out, we can carry out the total surveillance of that disease and we can come out with some strategic measures. Second is control in animals. How to control in live animals? First is quarantine that animal which found disease symptoms. Then second is test and slaughter. In many countries, when there is animal population found positive, recent example is presence of BAC in the population in UK. They have destructed almost all the animal population for these diseases 8-10 years back. So they have tested and they have slaughtered all the animals and buried. Test and segregation, segregate those animal or flock of animals. Third is, next is immunization, that is vaccine to control that diseases in animal. Then treatment, for example, brucellosis. If brucellosis is there, as a veterinarian we say, once brucellosis is always brucellosis. So how to control? Why we are saying that once brucellosis, it is very difficult to remove that disease from the animal body once it is get infected, because the organism goes in dormant state and settle down in cotyledons. So how to remove that? Which medicine can reach there? So what treatment you as a veterinarian you can suggest for such diseases or the intracellular organisms or the resistance organisms? Brucellosis is also intracellular. So for such thing, we need to carry out research of nanoparticulate based medicine which can reach intracellular and target the organism specifically, which can reduce the treatment cost, which can reduce the dose of that treatment, and which can also control the disease in the animals. The next is restriction of animal movement from one state to another, from one place to another, and last is control of animal population. For example, again, how to control the animal population? Stray dogs population in India, it's a big problem. How to control that population? By spaying, by castration. What are the methods and how to go ahead with this control in animals? Next is control of infectious media, that is control of vectors or vehicle of infection. So, for example, in human, malaria, which is transmitted through mosquitoes, can be controlled. Environmental hygiene, again, if you keep your environment healthy, definitely you keep yourself healthy. Destruction of pathogenic material, whatever waste or the pathogenic material after death of animal or after post-mortem or after carrying out any operation or any hospital waste should be disposed of properly so that this will not act as a source of infection again to the human being. The most nowadays destruction of pathogen is material is the mask which we are using for protecting ourselves from corona COVID-19. If we don't dispose of this mask properly and throw everywhere, definitely by accident the positive person will transmit the corona COVID-19 to the human being by accidental contamination. Next is disinfection, and last is the feed hygiene, the quality of feed given to the animals. It may be the domesticated animals used for food, or it may be the pet which stays with the human population in their house. Then prevention in man. How? Occupational health education right from the students' educational curriculum. Such education should be given to those people first, those who are working with the animal population, maybe slaughterhouse workers, maybe meat processing all workers, maybe animal handlers. So we must educate them. Then post-exposure to the treatment, food hygiene and food safety that we have discussed, arthropod control, vector control, and other rodent control. All these things, because in our house where we are staying, there are chances of getting rodents, mosquitoes, even any vector to enter in a house by accidentally, or maybe they have a very you can say open access. So how to control that? By controlling by biocontrol measures or by using anti-rodent or anti-vector agents, we can control, prevent in human being. Then strategy selection. What strategy to be adopted for such kind of zoonosis control? So one is eradication, either by vaccination, by test and slaughter, and number of ways are there. Second is you have to coexist with that disease. So there are again number of examples like rabies may be coexisted in dog population. Some dog may be coexisted in wild population. as now we are saying that when there is no medicine for this COVID-19, we may have to coexist with that disease by preventing ourselves to make sure that it will not come to human very easily. So we have discussed. Recently, I have read a news that in California, there is a lake from where people got infected with amoeba, and that amoeba destroys the brain, and few number of cases has been reported in USA by infection of amoeba after swimming in that lake, and which destroyed the brain, causes the damage to the brain. So if you look after all these things, after hearing so many things, how to prevent, how to control, so what should be an approach of the world or of our country? We have seen human population in our country, which is largest. Again, the domestic animal population, which is again largest. So the environment in which this human population and domestic animal population stay also got contaminated. So unless we keep in good health domestic animal population which are staying around us, wild animal population, and environmental health, third thing, and the human health, healthy, then otherwise it is not possible to stay human healthy so easily. So this is One Health approach. One Health means health of the human being, health of the animal, environmental health should be kept in such a way that everybody should live to their healthy life. Then only human being can be prevented from such infectious zoonotic diseases in nature. So to conclude, these zoonoses have a significant impact on this public health. Knowledge of zoonoses is essential to the veterinarians, and they are the first line of defense. Developing strategies for the prevention and control are distinct, may be distinct from one disease to another, often making new research necessary before designing appropriate prevention and control actions. The kind of interdisciplinary research, as we are aware that veterinarians are working in their own field with the animals, humans are working in their own field with the humans, environmentalists are working in their own field, and they never interact with each other. Even if you see the institute which are working on such kind of approach, One Health approach, one or two institutes, it should come from the government of India policy, that whatever project we take from the national level, it should have an interdisciplinary approach which can give some clue about such kind of diseases existed in our environment, so that it is a mindset of our people to be changed. We should work in collaboration with each other, and it should not be only few institutes which are working independently and collaborating with the medical science or veterinary science or environmental science. It should be the policy from the government of India or the state level policy to work interdisciplinary. Therefore, the long-term planning must be taken into consideration with involvement of medical, veterinary, and environmental scientific community. So with this, I thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity to interact with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I wish to request Dr. Ram Prabhu sir to give his remarks. Ram Prabhu sir, please. Sir, there are Honorable Patrukar sir.
Yes,
There are two questions from audience. Just I would like to take that question. Can I take right now, sir? Sir, there is one question. Is there any report from animal, especially dog and cat, for transmission of COVID to human being?
See, there are cases in not in India but other countries. The tiger and the cat, which are living in the close proximity of COVID positive patient, they have got infected, but there is no any evidence that the tiger or cat act as a source of infection of COVID to the human being. And these are very isolated cases. Otherwise, in India, looking to the population, animal population, and even the population of human, we must have faced the havoc of transmission of this COVID-19 from animal to animal or animal to human. So these are all isolated cases of transmission of COVID-19, and the chance right now we can say that, but there is a everyday development. If the virus mutates and adopt the species after some time, which we don't know, but today very isolated in few cases wherein highly infectious patient is contacted or come in contact with the such cat or animals. Another question?
Sir, second, sir, will be very much thankful if you can give us message for a practicing veterinarian, sir, about how to deal with this COVID pandemic, sir. Please, sir.
For practicing veterinarians,
Yes,
definitely they have to take care. They have to take care, especially the pet animals. Number one, practitioner who are in large number. Then the livestock development officers, and third is the diagnostic people, veterinarians. They must take care of themselves by protecting, by wearing the mask, by protecting themselves, keeping distance with the owner. You don't know what kind of owner, from where he has come, and what is his history, and to whom he has come in contact with them. Number one. Second thing, he has to use sanitizing his hands, use all protective kit while handling the animals. And only, this is the message, if unless you protect yourself, till there is some medicine which is available for this COVID, or there is a vaccine available for COVID, you have to coexist with COVID till that time and protect yourself from any contacted person or inanimate object.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to request our Honorable General Secretary of Indian Society for Veterinary Medicine for his concluding remark. I invite Ram Prabhu, sir, please.
Sir, at the outset, I thank the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Matsu, for delivering a lecture. So, he has narrated very well about the wildlife zoonosis and the role of veterinarians in the control of zoonosis and the precautions to be taken by the veterinarians, both the practicing veterinarians as well as the academicians. And so this lecture definitely nourishes the youngsters and the thought, the Sir, your thoughts are to be taken by the young scientists in formulating research projects, various funding agencies. So, on behalf of ISVM, I thank the Honorable Vice Chancellor for his wonderful lecture for the benefit of the ISVM members as well as the PG and UG students of veterinary science. I also thank the sponsor, the Zydus Animal Health, for sponsoring the webinar series for ISVM. Thank you, Ananda. Thank you.
Okay. With this, I would like to conclude this webinar. I request all other participants to join our second webinar on rabies sharply at 7 o'clock. With this, I am thankful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, for delivering this wonderful webinar and enriched us about the knowledge about zoonosis as far as the veterinary clinicians are concerned. Thankful, sir. Thankful, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Eldar,
Yes, sir.
we will meet by 7. Huh?
Yes, sir. Sharp 7 o'clock, we will start second webinar.